Good morning, everyone. It is Tuesday, April 28th. I am Larry Cedar, and we are back with another session on scanning, Sqanning, the relaxation technique which utilizes the incremental release of muscular tension to achieve a deep state of physical and mental calm. So here we are. It is Tuesday morning at 11 o'clock. Welcome back. Those of you who have been here before, I welcome you back again. Those of you who are here for the first time, you will find that pretty much every session is exactly the same. I've been doing this for a little while now, and I just keep coming back to the same basic technique. I've tried a lot of forms of relaxation, meditation, and so forth in my life, and the reason I keep coming back to this technique is because it is the simplest. It is the most consistent. It is absolutely free. It is easy to teach. It is easy to learn. It is easy to practice. I do these sessions for about 30 minutes, sometimes a little longer, most of the time a little longer. I try to keep it within 30. But the reason it goes 30 minutes is not because it takes 30 minutes to teach you the technique. It's because I try to give it 30 minutes to just repeat the technique, reinforce the technique. And as it takes you into a deeper and deeper state of relaxation, so I like to continue down that path because ultimately I would like you to experience what I have experienced, which is the deepest state of relaxation where you have released virtually all your muscular tension, your mind is clear. It's just such a pleasurable, healing experience, and I like to try to get us there if I can within those 30 minutes. So that's the story. Excuse me. I usually start out each session by talking a little bit about the theory behind the technique as we wait for people to arrive, because people tend to trickle in. This technique, which I call scanning, Sqanning, is a relaxation technique which utilizes the incremental release of muscular tension to achieve a deep state of physical and mental calm. That's pretty much it. Now, I practiced techniques involving relaxation for most of my career. I'm an actor, and I find it very useful to be in a relaxed state of mind to do my best work and to have the most pleasurable experience in my life, relationships, and everything. I generally believe that the more relaxed you are, the happier you are, and the better you feel, the healthier you are. This particular technique I partially came to on my own based on an experience I had with a chiropractor who once I went to, and his method of healing was not to adjust me as most chiropractors do. His method of healing was to induce as deep a state of relaxation as he could. His theory being that the body knows how to heal itself, and we get in its way through muscular tension, through contracting, as I'll talk about in a minute. And if he could induce my body into a deep state of physical relaxation, my body would heal itself. Now, as it turns out, I went to him for an injury in my calf muscle. I had torn a calf muscle on a TV show running through a scene. And I was put on crutches immediately by the emergency room, and I went to see him out of habit because I'd been going to see him for a while. And he induced this deep, deep state of relaxation, and I kid you not, what was supposed to take a week or two to heal, I was back on my feet in a couple of days. It always stuck with me that to induce a deep state of relaxation was the most healing thing you could do for your body, no matter what your ailment. Deep, deep relaxation allows your body to take its natural healing course. And that the best thing we can do for ourselves sometimes is to get out of our own way. So that always stuck with me. That was the first point at which I began to explore finding ways to induce deep muscular relaxation. Now, you know how you go into bookstores sometimes and they say that people just go into bookstores looking for the book that confirms everything they already believe? If you're into philosophy and self-help and so forth, you find the book that confirms everything you believe. Well, lo and behold, I came across a book called The Lazy Man's Guide to Enlightenment by a man named Thaddeus Golas, Golas. And I highly recommend you read it because this book confirmed so much of what I already was beginning to believe. Because Thaddeus Golas writes about the universe being based on two fundamental concepts: contraction and expansion. And his theory was that everything in the universe is founded on those two actions. Whatever you look at, whatever you perceive, whatever you think about, whatever you experience is in a state of either contraction or expansion. And I began to look at the world in that way, and I began to see that, yes, that's true. This world we're living in, these things we pick up and touch, and our emotions and so forth, are basically contractions. They are an assemblage of concepts, ideas, and materials into an entity that we utilize in our life, for better or worse. Expansion would be the dissipation of that energy, the falling apart of things, the opening up, the relaxation, the release, the opposite. Both functions have equal importance in life. And in life, we tend to work on a continuum. We are either in a more contracted state or a more expanded state. Contraction can be good, but as you know, if we become too contracted, we become rigid, we become solid, we become ineffective in our life, we become unhealthy, we become closed-minded. And most of the negative experiences I felt in my life were from being overly contracted. So I began to see how this fit in with my desire to learn how to relax, to expand, to heal. I said, yes, that makes total sense. I can be in a more contracted state, or I can be in a more expanded state. I said, I want to move into a more expanded state to heal, to find myself, to be centered, to be calm. It's okay to be contracted. That's how we conduct our life. Everything around us is in a state of contraction. But we also need to not forget how valuable expansion is. Expansion being relaxation, release, letting go. This is why we go on vacations. Because we want to let go of all these things we have contracted, all these things we put together in our life, which make our life but become overly contracted. One of the most basic forms, metaphors of expansion contraction is no, yes. No being a contraction, yes being an expansion. And I say that because, and I've mentioned this before, I never want to start this practice of scanning. I'm always resistant to it. I'm always in a state of no. No, I don't want to. No, I don't want to let go. No, I don't want to change. No, I don't want to open myself up to ideas. No, I don't want to let go. But the process of scanning, this process of expansion, of letting go, release, requires that we let go. So I take it as a given that every time I start this practice, I'm going to be in a state of no, I don't want to start. And I take that as a good sign, because that means I'm really in a place where I need to be expanding. So that introduction aside, let's get started. If you're feeling resistant at all to this process, I understand. I go through it myself every single time. So we've talked about expansion and contraction. So we're going to use the hands as a metaphor for this process. I want you to put your hands together and squeeze. That's contraction. I want you to feel what that feels like. Squeeze. Takes effort. Takes concentration. You must be focused. You can't just drift, otherwise you'll let go. You must maintain a focus, an energy, an effort. Now we're going to do the opposite on my count. 3, 2, 1, release. Deep breath. Now notice the difference in those two feelings. We've just created a metaphor for the basic function of the universe. Contraction, expansion. So presumably, you're interested in this technique because you want to relax, you want to center yourself, you want to breathe, you want to be happier and more at peace. You've come to this probably because you're in a state somewhat of over-contraction. You can feel it instinctively. We all know the difference. I'm never indicating or showing you anything you don't already instinctively know. We know what contraction feels like. We know how counterproductive it can be. We know how trapped we can get in contraction. And we're here because we want to release. So we use the hands as a metaphor. So let's do it again. Squeeze the hands together. 3, 2, 1, release. Notice the difference. Experience the change. Deep breath. 90% of this technique is heightened awareness. Heightened awareness of the distinction between contraction and expansion. Heightened awareness particularly of what it feels like to expand so that you can do it again on demand when you need to. So let's do it again. Squeeze the hands together. 3, 2, 1, release. Deep breath. And take a few moments to really take in the changes that have occurred as the result of that incremental release of muscular tension. Perhaps your heart is beating more freely. Perhaps you feel a little more still, a little more quiet. Perhaps you're more aware of the blood pumping through your body and the accompanying throbbing sensation in your feet and hands as the blood vessels open up and flow more freely, and your blood pressure drops. Take in all those experiences, register them, remember them as though you were studying the lines for a scene in a play. Because the better you know those lines, the better you can perform the play tomorrow. That's what we're doing. We're studying the technique of release. Squeeze the hands together again. 3, 2, 1, release. Deep breath. And you're going to start feeling more impulses to take a deep breath, because as your body begins to get the signal that we're in a relaxation mode, it begins to realize that we're safe. It's safe to breathe again. We've been holding our breath because we've been in a state of contraction. So follow that impulse. Take those breaths. Deep breath. Now we're moving from a state of contraction into a state of expansion, from a state of no to a state of yes. The simplest form of this technique, if someone said, I need you to sum up this technique in 4 words, I would say, be still, be quiet. Because that's the foundation of being. That's the foundation of letting go. That's the foundation of stopping your thoughts. That's the foundation of releasing the tension in your body. Be still, be quiet. Let's do it again. Squeeze your hands together. This is a metaphor again. Squeezing the hands together, contraction. See what that feels like. And on my count, 3, 2, 1, release. Let that sensation of release pass through your body. Deep breath. You've now released the tension in your body by 1%. Study what that feels like. Let yourself sink into your chair just a little more deeply. Notice how you feel less compulsion to go anywhere or do anything or think anything. You're feeling a sort of stillness, a sort of calm coming over your body as you move yourself in a direction of relaxation and release. You're letting go of all your preconceived notions about what you should be doing at this moment, and you're allowing yourself to just experience what is. Nothing puts you into a state of contraction more quickly than expectation. The idea that you can think about the future and control it with your mind, with your thoughts, that you can anticipate what's going to happen, that instantly puts us into a state of contraction because we're holding on to a concept, an idea. Nothing puts you more quickly into a state of release than letting go of all preconceived notions of what is about to happen or thoughts about what did just happen. To be in a state of release, relaxation, and expansion is to be in the moment, is to be in the now. A place where absolutely nothing is happening. Deep breath. Let's do it again. Squeeze your hands together. 3, 2, 1. Remember, this is just a metaphor for the forces of the universe. Contraction, expansion. 3, 2, 1. Contracting and release. Let that sense of release pass through your body. Deep breath. Contract the hands. 3, 2, 1. Release. Let that sense of release pass through your body. Deep breath. I'm laughing to myself because as this process evolves, as I quote unquote teach these classes, and I say that in quotes because I'm not really teaching anything, I'm just sharing with you what I do as a practice of relaxation in the hopes that it awakens in you something you already instinctively know. As I begin to get deeper and deeper into the teaching of these classes, I'm tempted to start to make it a regular thing at a regular time, have regular format, and all the things that happen when you begin to teach a class. And it's funny because it tends to put a damper on the technique for me. The whole idea that Thaddeus Golas teaches is that the minute you lock onto a concept, it changes into something else unless you're blocked, if you're blocked to alternatives. Anything you lock into as an idea or a concept will always change. That's the way of the universe. So if you want to keep something free-flowing and effective, don't lock into anything. Just let it be what it is. So I say that because I've been trying to start these sessions at 11, but I think it's best if I just do them when they happen. The less preconceived notions I have on this technique, the less preconceived notions you have, the better. This is just the process of contracting and expansion. The name of this technique, scanning, will ultimately go away. This technique will ultimately go away. Anything we codify, anything we build into a structure will ultimately dissipate as it changes into something else. That's the tricky thing about this technique. The minute you try to lock it down, it evolves into something else. The most basic premise of this concept is that it's about contraction and expansion. By its nature, this very concept will at some point need to change and become something else. It's the strangest thing about studying it, because we like to lock into things. We like to contract. We like to build structures. We like to say, well, this is this and that is that, so I can depend on this and that in my life, when the truth of the matter is, the healthiest perspective to take on anything in life is that this is this now, and that is that now, but tomorrow, this will become that, and that will become this, and it'll all go away, and we'll start from scratch again. That's what this concept is all about, letting go. I think one of the most frustrating things for Thaddeus Golas was that he wrote a book which pretty much explains that books are meaningless. And then at some point in his life, he tried to lock it down, and he wrote 2 other books which tried to lock down the concepts. And in my opinion, they were very ineffective because he did the very thing he said he was against, and that is locking things down. If you want to have a free-flowing sensibility in this life, you have to be prepared for things to be constantly changing. Even this idea about things constantly changing, you must be prepared for that to constantly change. That's why I say this concept, this class, this theory, this technique, it's a temporary thing. It's a temporary technique to get us all to a place where we let go of techniques. So it's a contradiction in itself, nonetheless. I've been practicing it for a while. I do find it works. But whenever I think I've got it locked, it doesn't work. So the best thing is to just go on a day-to-day basis. And I always start with this. Squeeze your hands together, contract. That's contraction. That's the building of ideas. That's the yes, ever-changing, Janet. That is the building of ideas. That is the holding on to of concepts, relationships, jobs. We're holding on. But the universe doesn't ever stay the way it is. It always evolves. And so that's why we 3, 2, 1, release. Let that sense of release pass through your body. Take a deep breath. As you expand, you let that sense of release pass through your entire body. I always say it's like a drop of dark blue food dye. You've dropped it into a glass of clear water, and you watch it as that dye spreads through the water, dissipates. That's what's happening. When we release, we let that sense of release pass through our entire body, and we are moving incrementally towards an ever deeper and deeper state of total release. And when you get there, you'll know it, because you will no longer feel the need to practice any technique. When you get to a place, what Thaddeus Golas calls space, completely expanded, there's no expectation. There's no compulsion to do anything. There's no rules. There's only acceptance, being, release, relaxation. You just are. So you'll find I take longer and longer pauses as I get deeper and deeper into my own state of release, because I start to feel as though this all isn't necessary. I'm there. We're just trying to get there. What is there? It's back in our own skin. It's being within ourselves in the moment. taking pleasure and satisfaction in the simple sense of being. Deep breath. And that's where you want to go ultimately. We scan because we want to let go of our video games. We want to put the TV off. We want to put down the joint, the beer, the shot, the video games. Did I already say that? All the things which we extend ourselves outwards into the world to find satisfaction. We want to let go of all those things and come back to just being ourselves. No title, no job description, no bank account, no set of clothing, no particular philosophy, no particular religion, no particular political view, just being. You've freed yourself of all those external connections, all those things which you reach out for and hold on to define yourself, to identify yourself. But they're such a burden. It's like tying a rope around yourself, and you have more and more rope, and the rope holds you together, but then you can't move. So we try to come to a place where we can just let all of that go. It's a very busy world out there. It's a very busy, frightening world. And we deserve a moment or two with none of the accoutrement dragging us down. We deserve to be able to go to a place where we receive extreme satisfaction from just being. The sheer joy of just breathing, feeling the blood pump through our bodies, the sensations of our skin, the beating of our heart. And it's incredibly empowering because it all starts here. Everything we do, every place we extend ourselves into must begin with this. If you lose touch with this, then you're not bringing anything to the party. And you are completely dependent on that external force, whatever that may be. And you've lost yourself. And that's how we feel sometimes, like we've disconnected. We've lost ourselves because we're so wrapped up in those external things, the things we do, the things we think about, our politics, our religion, our games, our TV shows, our hobbies. All wonderful things, as long as they're based in the foundation of you. So when we lose touch with ourselves, when we become distant from ourselves, when we feel detached, that's when we go to Hawaii, to lie on a beach, to come back to ourselves. So this is the discount version of Hawaii. You don't have to buy a ticket. You don't have to book a hotel. You don't have to bring any sunscreen. It doesn't cost you a dime. You plop yourself down in a chair and you squeeze your hands together and you say, contraction, 3, 2, 1, release. Feel that sense of release pass through your body. Register the difference. And most importantly, register how your body has changed since you started. We started at, give yourself a number, a level, I'll say 10. I was particularly tense today. I generally am, but today in particular. Mostly because I've been watching the news this morning. And I've moved to, I would say, a 7. And it's not important how far I've moved. What's important is that there was a movement. All this process does is validate, reinforce, lock in the truth that there's more to life than just these contractions and these external entities you've involved yourself in. There is also expansion, release, relax, coming back to a place where you just basically experience yourself. We're just reminding yourself that that's an option, and that we have the ability, we have the power, we have the tools to bring ourselves back to this state, and that is the incremental release of muscular tension. I said earlier that another metaphor for contraction expansion is no, yes. We frequently get ourselves into a mindset, a physical and mental state of being, which is very much a no state, a resistant state. You're rejecting everything and everything. You're holding on to certain things. So this is another way of moving ourselves into a state of yes, acceptance, release. Another metaphor that Thaddeus Golas uses is the imploded self. The imploded self is solid. It can't merge with anything. It can't effectively engage in the universe. But as you expand, as you go from no, this is yes, then guess what? You can merge. You can interact with the world freely. don't have resistance, you don't have tensions, you're not fighting the world, you're basically engaging in the world. So we want to get to a state of relaxation, release, expansion, yes. Acceptance. When you come to this state where you feel comfortably in your chair, you feel like you can breathe more freely, you feel the blood rushing through your body, you feel less of a sense of compulsion to go somewhere, to do something, to think anything. You've basically come to a state of yes, yes, here I am, yes, yes. This is me. I accept my place in the universe. Yes. The opposite being no, 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 no. I hate this. I don't like that. I criticize this. No, no, no. I refuse to accept. I deny. That's the state of no. We want to get to a state of yes. And again, if I was to distill this technique down to 4 words, it would be still, be quiet. If you can do nothing else in your day except take a couple of minutes to sit down in a chair and be still and be quiet, you will have sent yourself, your body, your mind, the message that sitting quietly in stillness has value. Why? Because it forces you to let go of all the things you're holding on to and just come back to yourself, if only for a moment. And it doesn't even matter how deeply you get into this state of release or relaxation. It's irrelevant. What matters is that you move in that direction, even the slightest amount. There's something I think in medicine called microdosing, and I think there's also a form of holistic medicine. I forget what it's called. Maybe someone will type it in and tell me, where it's these microscopic amounts of certain trace elements that they put into something, and that they say that the theory is that slightest amount could have a profound effect on your body and your health. Well, this is microdosing. We're microdosing on releasing relaxation. If I say to you now, I want you to take an assessment of your entire body, and on my count, I want you to release 0.5% of the tension in your body. 3, 2, 1, release. You can do it. We have the capacity to incrementally release the muscular tension in our body. We've moved ourselves not necessarily that far, but in that direction. So now I'm going to take us through some specific areas of the body, and we're going to, work even more deeply on this sense of release. I have described what I call 8 zones of the body. You can break it up however you like. What I do is I'm going to focus on each of these zones, and I want you to, on my count, incrementally release the muscular tension in that area. The face, the brow, the jaw, the eyes. 3, 2, 1, release. The top of the head. Tense from all that thinking. 3, 2, 1, release. The back of the head. 3, 2, 1, release. The neck. 3, 2, 1, release. The shoulders. 3, 2, 1, release. The back extending all the way down into the pelvis. 3, 2, 1, release. Deep breath. The legs, and finally the feet. If you can relax the feet, it's very helpful for your body, because we have so many nerve endings associated with the organs of the body. That's why reflexology, foot massage, is so effective. The legs and feet. 3, 2, 1, release. And now the entire body. Incremental release of tension. 3, 2, 1, release. As you sink even more deeply into your chair, you take a deep breath. And register that change. How does that feel? And at some point in this process, your body will recognize what's going on, and it will begin to sort of take over. It will see that not only does it feel good, but it's safe. It's safe to relax. It's okay. And it knows instinctively that this is good for you, and it will begin to take over. Your body will just begin to let go of its own accord. Let that happen. Scan your body, as I said. Look for pockets of tension in your shoulders, your feet, or your legs, and let them go incrementally. You have the capacity. You know that now. You're experiencing it. And sit in stillness for 10 to 15 seconds and just indulge yourself in the sensations of release. Deep breath. People have asked me, well, what happens at these scanning sessions? I say, well, this is where you come to do nothing. There's plenty of places to go on the internet, in the world, where you can take a lesson in something, where you can apply a structure, a contraction, as I said, where you can learn a new skill that involves your locking down an idea or a concept, talking, doing. This is a place where you come to talk less, do less, sit in stillness and quiet, and experience yourself. It's a lot of noise out there in the world right now. And it's important that we tune it out on occasion. And as I said, come back to experiencing your own body, the pleasures that come from just being, just breathing, just existing. It's important that we not be afraid of silence and we not be afraid of stillness. I grew up in a family where silence was very frightening because what happened in moments of silence? Feelings. So for me, it took a long time to learn to just be silent in the presence of others. We feel a compulsion to speak, a compulsion to explain, a compulsion to describe. But where the real learning occurs is in the silence. Because silence allows yourself and everyone around you to experience the moment, to experience themselves. So people say to me, well, what do I do about all my thoughts? What do I do about all those thoughts? That's not silence. All those thoughts are going on. And I say, I understand. Believe me, I struggle with this all the time. It's one of the reasons I developed this technique. What do I do with all those thoughts? I want to be quiet. I want to experience still, calm silence. But those thoughts, and what I discovered is, it is physically impossible to put your full concentration and attention into the relaxation of a particular area of musculature and simultaneously be thinking about something. I don't understand why, but I've just discovered this. It's as if the body can only do one or the other. Now, clearly, that's not completely true. But I do find that if I put my focus, my full concentration into the muscular release, incremental muscular release of different areas of my body, and those muscles do indeed begin to release, I find within a very short period of time, I've stopped obsessing. I've stopped mentally churning over concepts, ideas, worries, concerns. It's just a fact. Now, I have a theory, which is not scientific in any way, shape, or form, but is based on experience, that the muscles, we can induce muscular relaxation because the muscles only know how to do two things, contract or release. It's very simple to induce that. I have a theory that the mind, the brain, while obviously not a muscle, is a muscle of sorts, gets contracted. So my theory is, because the body wants to be unified, and when one part of the body feels another part relaxing, it typically wants to join in. It will follow That's how you move yourself into a state of deep physical relaxation. My theory is that the mind, acting somewhat like a muscle as well, begins to relax as well, in concert with the rest of the body. And if thought is a form of tension, because you are again contracting, creating ideas, structures, things, as you begin to relax and release, your mind begins to contract and form ideas and words and thoughts as well. It begins to let go. So my suggestion to you is, if you find yourself having obsessive thoughts, that you don't concern yourself with the thoughts. Don't worry about it. They'll be there or they won't. Focus instead on the incremental release of muscular tension. The basis of this technique, it begins with the incremental release of muscular tension. This isn't a logical process. There's not a description. There's nothing you need to convince yourself rationally or logically about this process. It's very simple, purposely, because muscles are sort of dumb. They only know how to do two things, contract or expand. So we start by just giving basic instructions. You don't have to convince your body to do anything complicated. We start there. So again, if your mind is obsessing with thoughts in your moments of quiet and stillness, squeeze your hands together. 3, 2, 1, release. Put your full concentration into letting that sense of release pass through your body. Find other pockets of tension. You may be aware when you do that release that you're beginning to have a sense of the muscles in your chest. Let them go. 3, 2, 1, release. Full focus and attention. Your face again. 3, 2, 1. Concentrate and let it go. Release. The feet. Put your focus in the feet. Heighten your awareness of the tension in your feet. And on my count, 3, 2, 1. Tiniest incremental release. Let your feet go. Your back. Focus on the back. Any tension you may be holding in your back. And on my count, 3, 2, 1. Tiny amount. Release. Just let it go. The tiniest amount. Incremental release. Deep breath. The pelvis. The pelvis is a sensitive area. It's the area of, shall we say, elimination and sexuality. You may be holding tension in that area. Most of us do. It's an area of great insecurity. 3, 2, 1, release. Now, you're beginning to feel the body act in concert with itself. As you release one area, you begin to notice other parts of your body are releasing and relaxing. The arms. 3, 2, 1, release. Notice how each release of a particular zone affects the other parts of your body. The neck. 3, 2, 1, tiny amount. Release. Deep breath. Now, take stock. Your entire body is now an additional 1% relaxed. And you may even have a sense of your mind, your brain as a muscle. You may even have a sense that it too has just incrementally let go and that you're thinking less obsessively. Now again, take advantage of that and sit in that moment of stillness and quiet. Explore what that feels like. Study what it feels like. Enjoy what it feels like. Enjoy how you feel a slightly lessened sense of compulsion. You don't feel as though you have to be somewhere. There's nothing you need to be doing right now. There are no thoughts you need to be having. It's fine. You're comfortable just being. Deep breath. Now again, if you've come to this session with a certain expectation, I don't know what that might be, but I will tell you what I can promise you. If you come to these sessions, what I will promise you is hopefully a technique that will allow you to still your mind, to relax your body, to find a calm, a peace, a stillness, a sense of nothingness. And in that nothingness, you will hopefully discover great satisfaction, because the nothingness is the letting go of all the things you've been holding on to. This morning, yesterday, for the week, the year, all the things we've built up, our thoughts, our ideas, our theories, our philosophies, our religions, our relationships, our habits, our jobs, all those things you hold on to identify yourself, you're letting go, if for a very short period of time, so that you may just be nothing. And why does that have value? Deep breath. Because it's a way of reminding ourselves that in our nothingness, we are everything. That the truest sense of fulfillment comes from being back in touch with yourself at your most basic. And why is that so fulfilling? Because we realize that at that moment, we don't need anything. We're self-sufficient. We're self-contained. We're alive. We exist merely because we're here. And we forget. We get pulled out of ourselves. We get pulled into things. We get pulled away. We chase, we trace, we contract, we build things. We come up with ideas and arguments and discussions and jobs and projects and hobbies and a million things. We drink, we smoke, we do all sorts of things to make ourselves feel alive and fulfilled. And then we let go of all those things and we think, then I'll be nothing. And yet, lo and behold, you're everything. It all starts here. And that is the purpose of this technique, to get us back to ourselves. It's called Sqanning, S-Q-A, S-Q-A-N-N-I-N-G, the incremental release of muscular tension to achieve a deep state of physical and mental calm. I'm going to take you through the process one more time for those of you who may have shown up a little late. And then we're going to call it a day. Gently clasp your hands together. Hi, Richard. I see Richard is here. Hi. Good to see you, Richard. Gently clasp your hands together. And again, if the universe is basically formed out of two realities, contraction or expansion, if everything you see, experience, or do in your life is either a state of contraction or expansion, this is a metaphor for the entire universe. Crazy, huh? Squeeze your hands together, and on my count, you're going to completely release that tension, that contraction, and I want you to pay very close attention to how different it feels from contraction. 3, 2, 1, ready, release. Let that sense of release pass through your entire body. Take a deep breath. And study those sensations. Do it again. Squeeze your hands together. 3, 2, 1. Release. Deep breath. And as we wrap this up, I just want you to again take an assessment of where you were when you started on a scale of 1 to 10. You could have been a 10, you could have been a 9, you could have been a 7, and where you are possibly now. If you moved yourself 1/10 of 1%, you've succeeded because you've reminded yourself that that's an option and that you have the skill to achieve a deep state of release, calm, quiet, stillness. It's the opposite of contraction. It's expansion. Again, the technique is called Sqanning, S-Q-A-N-N-I-N-G, the incremental release of muscular tension. If you like the process, I try to do daily sessions, typically around 11 o'clock, sometimes in the afternoon, maybe in the evenings. But you can go to the Facebook Sqanning page, S-Q-A-N-N-I-N-G. If you like it, I would appreciate if you like and follow the page. I do repost all of these sessions, so you can see all my past sessions as well. And you can follow along. And again, these techniques are designed for simplicity. You shouldn't have to hear the technique more than once to be able to go off and do it on your own. The idea is that it's something that's at its basis a simple matter of contracting and expanding and reminding yourself of that sense of expansion and how we can reintroduce that into our lives to create balance. So that's all for today. You're always free to message me if you have any questions. I also post these sessions on the Sqanning YouTube page, S-Q-A-N-N-I-N-G. And the reason I call it Sqanning is as in scanning the body for tension. All we're doing is we're playing detective. We're looking through our body and we're finding little pockets of tension and we're incrementally releasing them. And as the body begins to get on board, that sense of release passes more deeply and further into the body until it totally lets go, allows you to just be in the moment, free of all the things you've taken on in your life. That in turn relaxes the mind and clears your mind of thoughts and obsessions, and you can be in a place of calm and stillness. Be still, be quiet, be calm. Thanks for joining me today. We'll see you tomorrow. And as always, remember to breathe. Thanks. Bye.